Good evening and welcome to Africa's Vision Network. Africa's Vision Network features African cultural awareness, education, economic empowerment, and other issues focusing on the African world. I am your host, Princess Ayo. This evening, our program will focus on the art of storytelling. And anyone who watches this show knows that is nearest and dearest to my heart, as I am the African storyteller. And I am joined by two fellow storytellers, and we're very excited this evening to have one of our guests be Bubba Jamal Karim, the story man. We have Dr. Michael Ortog Bay, Academic Dean of Strayer University, Woodbridge Campus. And we're also joined by a drummer for our show today, Tyrell Williams, and we're very glad to have all of you. Now, Bubba Jamal Karim is a noted storyteller, author, griot, drummer, singer, performer, and educator who loves sharing stories, and who has shared these stories at the Smithsonian Institute, the Kennedy Center, Lincoln Center in New York City, and other important storytelling festivals around the world, which includes countries in Africa, Canada, and the Caribbean. He engages his audience in learning and sharing the folktale and history of the world African folklores. Bubba Jamal Karim graduated with a BA and MS and received the EDS from the University of Virginia, Charlottesville. He is past president of the National Association of Black Storytellers, program director of the African American Storytelling Arts Institute, and affiliated with numerous other organizations. He is listed in Who's Who among African Americans and has received numerous artistic, community, and civic awards. He is the author of several storytelling books and has recorded numerous audio tapes. Inspiring, optimistic, dynamic, and encouraging are some of the appreciative remarks made about a remarkable educator, Dr. Michael Ortog Bay. The transition from a school teacher in Nigeria, West Africa, to a campus dean at an American university has taken over 18 years. Faith, consistent discipline, and incredible stamina have fueled Dr. Ortog Bay's drive to earn a Bachelor of Science degree as the 1979 Strayer College valedictorian, a Master of Arts degree at Catholic University, and a PhD at American University. Dr. Ortog Bay has encouraged understanding among groups by organizing celebrations for Asian heritage, African heritage, and Latin American heritage. Among his current projects is a cross-national book of folktales and fables collected from around the world. The stories contain morals and guidance. Welcome, both of you, to Africa's Vision Network.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We're so pleased now. We're all three educators. Because my first degree was in language arts, which in America I guess would be called reading specialty, writing specialty, and my second degree was in a master's in education and human development.
Yes.
And so it's amazing that we all have similar types of educational background.
So you went to school.
And here
Where
we
did you go to school?
I went to the University of Ibadan, which is the best university in Africa.
Watch yourself.
It is the first university that's from the European standard, because I know that there were universities before that in Africa and in West Africa, and it was considered the first in Nigeria, and it's called the premier university because it was the first one that was established there. And I graduated from there in 1980, and it was thrilling to be a part of such a group.
And what brought
Yes.
you over here? How did you get over here from there?
Well, what brought me here was the search for more opportunity.
Yes.
Like every other person that's not in America.
That's right.
They think this is the place, and they're probably right.
No doubt.
You know, I got married, I had 2 children, and was living in Nigeria, but I just felt that there was more, and I wanted to see what more there was.
Yes, indeed.
So I came. 15 years later, I'm still here.
Well, we're glad that you are.
Now, what I would like to do is start with Bubba and to ask you to share with us something about yourself and how you became interested in storytelling.
Well, I grew up in Greenburgh, New York, and White Plains, New York, which is in Westchester County. And at that time, Greenburgh was a little sleepy town. Everybody knew everybody else, and my family was prominent among them. You see, my family came up from Virginia. In the 1840s, James and Anna had Wellington Thomas, had Winston and James Coram, and Wellington had, along with Elizabeth Grant, they had a little boy named George Raymond Coram. George Raymond, Wellington, Elizabeth, they went up to New York, and George married Nettie. And Nettie and George, they had a little boy named James Richard Coram. And James Richard Coram fell in love with this sweet, fine woman from Holly Hill, South Carolina, and they had 3 children, and one of them was me.
All right.
You see, and so we look to the east, the south, the north, and the west. We give praises that we all able to be here at one time to share that which we love to do. And as I was coming up in Greenburgh, New York, there was a man named John Harmon. And John Harmon had a black bookstore. And this bookstore was in Greenburgh. 1958, a black bookstore with black statues and pictures of presidents and kings and queens. And every day after school, I would go to my African education school in that black bookstore. And John Harmon raised me up in the knowledge. Maud Miller was my foster mother. Maud Miller, she wrapped her arms around me and gave me all the love that a young boy could need and want. And between those two, the stirrings in my soul and in my imagination brought me to want to perform and to be in front of people and speak. And 1979, I began my journey to be a storyteller. Yes, indeed. And that started down there in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Who encouraged you? What were the reasons why? I feel it's a calling. I don't know on anybody else's life, but I feel it's a calling on your life.
Well, you know, I coming up, you know, we did all the school plays and the church pageants, and you know, get up and recite all the books in the Bible, and all the church ladies, they, oh, that boy's good, and you know, they give you that encouragement and love, so you just have to keep on doing. And then starting the singing group and being a lead singer and doing the steps with Temptation and all. Hey, and you know, and then ending up wanting that education and finding myself at the University of Virginia studying community education administration. And there was a woman there named Lois Owens who was a drama instructor. And one year, 1979, 1980, she came up to me and she said, let's go into the schools and read some stories to the children. And I said, yeah, okay. So we got the same book. I still have that little book. And she read some lines and I read some lines, and we acted it out, and we played some instruments and showed some movies. People loved it. Other schools invited us and they loved it. And that following year she was gone. I was still there in Charlottesville. So they called me in.
Wow.
So my first school that I performed at was Venable Elementary School on 14th Street, and we've been going ever since.
Wow.
And that was it.
That's a calling.
Yes, indeed.
Whoa, that is a calling. I'm going to come back to you, but Dr. Ortog Bay, tell us, you know, share your views about yourself with us and how you got into storytelling.
All right. Growing up in Africa, we didn't have. I didn't have television to watch at home. I didn't have Power Rangers. I didn't have the modern, the internet. So what we did as children was to sit around when the moon is shining, and we just tell each other folk tales, stories, stories about life experiences. We used it to motivate each other, and sometimes we are lucky to have an elderly man or woman to come in and share with us some folk tales. And I found that storytelling is a non-threatening way to give advice to children. I find in my home, with my 3 children, I find that if I say, come, let me advise you, they just tune out. But when I say, come, let me tell you a story, they come running.
Yes.
Exciting. Bubba, tell me, what do you think is the main focus of your storytelling? What is the point of it?
Yes, well, that's an interesting question, because to answer that, I have to go back, and I have to think about Red Fox, Bill Cosby, Richard Pryor. I have to go back and think about all the singers that told a story before they sang that slow song. I have to go back to all the preachers I ever heard. I have to go back to when we were carrying a little book in our back pocket, and the book more than likely was a poetry book. I have to go back to the last poets. See, I have to go back to all of those people, all of those influence, Arthur Prysock. I had to go all the way back to Moms Mabley, and then try some way to synthesize that. I have to go back to my Uncle Thelma and Aunt Florence, who used to have parties on Friday nights, and all the people would come over, to the street singers and to the corner sitters, all those folks. And I bring that in my storytelling, because that's all me. It's all me. I have to go back to the jellies of West Africa and my trips there, and then put all that together and bring a presence that is something of dignity, of hope, of vision, so that whatever story I tell, that presence and all of that history has to come through in every word I say. So that's what happens, and that's what it is. Yes,
what are some of the, Dr. Ortog Bay, some of the positive aspects of your storytelling? What is the main bent of?
It's to inspire people, to empower people, especially young people, that they have what it takes to succeed. You can be black, white, yellow, green. You have what it takes to succeed. And it reminds me of what Reverend Jesse Jackson once said, that if I live in a slum, just because I live in the slum area of the city doesn't mean the slum live in my blood, that I can overcome any obstacle. So I try to use my stories to motivate people to achieve more, to accomplish more in their lives.
How come you were in university studying some field, and you went on and did your master's? What now that you're the dean of this great university, why do you still do this? I mean, sort of like an academic person now doing quite a traditional thing.
Yes. I'm able to, I find that when I tell stories, I lose myself. I'm almost in a trance state.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm sure you will
relate
to that.
Oh yeah.
And I feel good for the next 7 days or 2 weeks that I've been able to transform myself in front of an audience.
It's good that he mentioned that trance, because I think the object of storytelling is to transfer the trance.
Yes.
It's like the storytellers out of Morocco. They'll play an instrument and they'll move around, and next thing you know, you're just ready to listen.
Yes.
And I think all storytellers have that in them and do that to one degree or another. So I can really relate to what you're saying, and it does lift you up.
Yes.
Yes.
I remember being on a show in New York. Imhotep Gary Bird had me on, and he asked me, how did you start doing storytelling? And those spiritual moments come, and you're on the air and you're answering the question that comes through your spirit at that moment. And I said, well, what really happened was storytelling called me and said, come, I want to show you something.
That's right.
And there I was. And gosh, it must have been 6 years later, I was holding a workshop in Arizona, and they had said, we want you to come and hold a workshop on storytelling. And it was like a quick, please give us a title. I don't know. We're going to put it in the program. And I said, African healing through storytelling.
Wow.
Watch yourself.
But when I got there, I'm on the plane, I'm preparing the notes.
Yeah.
When I got to the class, I was really pretty much through this class.
Yeah.
When the students are asking me more questions about this work, and I'm saying to them, I have found it to be a healing process for me. So apparently, I had to become a storyteller because I needed healing.
Right.
And so I tell you the stories to heal myself, and it's as if you get the overflow.
Yeah, but you know, it's good that you mentioned healing as well, because I don't care what's wrong with you. There is no healing without storytelling. You're going to tell the story first before you begin that healing process. You know, and so that's a beautiful insight to have the healing and spread the healing, and that comes back to you. And when it comes back, bam, we're in that trance.
Yes, yes.
It is quite a responsibility. I remember reading about a little girl who was asked, what is so great about stories? And she said in her 5-year-old mind, if we had no stories, everybody would die. You know, and I just really believe that we have a responsibility as storytellers. We're like priests and priesthoods.
No doubt.
And priests and priestesses, because we do lift the imagination, and we take the mind of the listener and lift it up to another level. Now we have the responsibility to take care of that mind as we take it on its journey, and we have the responsibility to land it back down safely, so it can go on with its life, having learned whatever he was supposed to learn on the journey.
That's right.
You know, I think it's a great responsibility.
It is, and we get the calling, and we accept the responsibility, and the only ones that can give us that position as a teller is the community from whence you came and your family. You know, and because a lot of folk walking around calling themselves storytellers, where are you connected to? What is your root?
Yes.
They have none. I need to go back.
Yeah.
I need to go back.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Well, we're going to practice our healing art, and we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, Bubba, Jamal, please share some stories with us.
No doubt.
What's the story?
Okay.
We will be back.
All right.
I can yell it now, looking for a sign. I can yell it now, looking for a sign. Looking for a sign. Looking for a sign. I can yell it now, looking for a sign. I'm going to tell you a story about Nat Turner. Now, Nat Turner was his name, but we call him Akinyele Nat because he brought bravery into the house. Now, Akinyele Nat used to live down somewhere in Southampton County, Virginia, and he would go into the forest around that swamp. I can't remember the name of that swamp, but there were some pine trees up in that swamp, and he would sit beneath the pine trees, and he would fall on his knees and he would pray. And one day, he got a message. Nat, you have to do something to free your people. And he said, but what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? But he didn't get no answer. So he called his boys. He called Hawk. He called Nelson. He called Will. He called Exum. Yeah, Exum, that was his name, Exum. He said, Hawk, Will, Nelson, Exum. Well, they came running. Well, not all of them, but Hawk was there. Said, what we gonna do, Nat? Nat said, we got to find a way to get rid of this oppression, this depression, this pressing period. She said, well, how are we gonna know how to do that, Nat? Nat said, we're gonna look for a sign. We're gonna look for a sign. I can yell it, Nat, looking for a sign. I can yell it, Nat, looking for a sign. Looking for a sign. Looking for a sign. I can yell it, Nat, looking for a sign. So God sent down a little thunder and lightning. Nat looked and I said, no, that's regular, that's not the sign, that's not the sign. And Nat kept looking and waiting. God whipped up a little hurricane for him, little tornado. And Nat said, no, that's regular. that's regular. No, that's not the sign. And Hawk said, well, now how you gonna know? Nat said, we gonna know when that sign comes. And then one day, moon covered up the sun. And Nat looked in the air, and he said, whoop, there it is! Whoop, there it is! Whoop, that's it! We got it! We got it! And Nat and Hawk and Will and them, they gathered up some people, and they went on a freedom trail, seeking freedom for their people. Because that's the kind of man Nat was. That's the kind of sermon he preached. That's the kind of lesson he was teaching. That's the kind of walk he was walking. That's the kind of talk he was talking. You be a Nat Turner kind of person. You get on your knees and pray. Then you get off your knees and go to work. I can yell at Nat, looking for a sign. I can yell at Nat, looking for a sign. Looking for a sign. Looking for a sign. I can yell at Nat, looking for a sign. Yes, indeed. I can yell at Nat. We know that every story is not for every ear. We know that. So sometimes we'll tell that story in a different way. And sometimes we won't tell it at all. But now that you have it, you spread it out. And you tell it to someone that you know, someone you love. That's a freedom story. Yeah.
Beautiful. We loved it.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Now we're going to move to our different healer. And Dr. Ortog Bay, you please share a story with us.
Hello, this is a story about the lion, a proud, arrogant lion. Every night he will look at himself and say, hey, I am the king of the African jungle. He said, I want to test it. I want to find out who the real king is. I think I am the king of the jungle. You know what he did? He went around harassing everyone. Every animal he meets, he grabs him and asks him, who is the real king of the African jungle? If that animal mentions someone else, on this cold night, he was walking around, and the first animal that he met was the gorilla. Gorilla, who is the real king of the African jungle? The gorilla was so scared. He said, lion, you are the king of the African jungle. Am I free to go now? Yes, go away. Nest. The giraffe. Giraffe, who is the real king of the African jungle? The giraffe, with his long neck, was looking around. Who's gonna help me? Who's gonna help me? No one came to help the giraffe. And so the lion, Mr. Lion, you are the king of the jungle. Yes, go! Finally! There came the elephant. The elephant. Who is the real king of the jungle? The elephant, without saying any word, told the lion, come with me. And the lion followed the elephant. The elephant was looking for a big, humongous tree, and he found one. I said, lion, ask me the question again. Who is the real king of the African jungle? The elephant wrapped his trunk around the lion, and 50 times over 50 times on the tree, and down, and the lion dazed. You don't have to be so upset. I just asked you a question. Just because you don't know the answer, you don't have to be so upset. That is why, if you go to my village and you gather all the children together and you ask them, who is the real king of the African jungle, they will all tell you in unison, it is the elephant.
Fabulous. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
You don't need to ask again why he does this.
Thank you.
That's right.
After his job, he has to get lost in something. Fabulous. I can see why the children love it so much. Now, you know, when I think about the storytelling, I think of all the lessons that are learned. And we're going to talk about that again because we're going to get a chance to return. And so we come back in part 2, we'll talk about the different uses of this. I mean, it's such a powerful tool and the different ways it's been used, if you can think of through history and the way it's being used now. And then, of course, we will hear more stories. So thank you for being with us, and join us again for part 2 of Africa's Vision Network. Thank you.
Thank you.
In the sky, all the animals are praying for rain. Rivers dried up and streams dried up, and still no rains came. Well, King Lion knew the times when he made up his mind to call some leaders to meet with him. There was big bad rhino, ugly hippo, and giraffe. She was looking cold, slim. Didn't call us together to talk about the weather, though the weather is very dry. But we must decide to get some water like we oughta, or our people will surely die. And the lion said, we must dig a well. We must dig a well. Can you dig it? We must dig a well. Dig it, dig it, dig it, dig it. We must dig a well. We must dig a well. We must dig a well. Let's do a rain dance, the rhino said. Do it in the latest style. The lion said, cool, but between me and you, that may take just a little while. No, we have to act fast, because the drought is going to last. We need to act as fast as we can. And we need cooperation from each animal nation to work this master plan. And the lion said, we must dig a well. We must dig